I just wrote a note to them after I took that video in backwards letters in the steam. Um, I have 2 pots of water still boiling, so the air is saturated with steam. And because based on my past observations, if you were to look through here, you would see the medical building and several quote unquote family members, according to my model. I think of them as a family. The people with money are a family, and they work with younger people as their henchmen, so to speak, who wear the ghillie suits. Um, that that is populated day and night with people who hide behind screens and false backs. Um, and I'm sure they're down there now because this confrontation has come to a head. I do feel extremely threatened at this point, but I have almost nothing to lose, and they've messed with me in a very fragile time. And this is what I've been experiencing my whole life. And for them to use this as a weapon for some reason against me is sociopathic, and that's being blunt, but also probably that's putting it lightly. It's sadistic and sociopathic, so it's actually psychotic because they are harming me. But I wrote here's these are traces of my letters. You can see my letters have already been um, uh, written over by steam again because the air is super saturated. There's a backwards E right now, and there's a backwards I. Um, Here's some more backwards letters here. I wrote it all at the same time. Um, here I wrote the word all backwards. There's an A. You can faintly see it. A-L-L by tracing my fingers through the steam. I was writing, you are all responsible. And now the letters, I traced right through this thing when I was tracing. And you can see now that it's already come back as if they're still putting energy through that trajectory. If I were to trace a line, if I were to trace a line from my heart standing here, or possibly my head in a sleeping position in the bed, back through, it goes back to London Place. I can't see through the steam right now, but I think it's the second of the floors below the penthouse floor. So there's a floor above it, and then there's the penthouse. And from my view, it's on the right-hand side. And this is a fresh, those are fresh markings coming through. And there's all of these bizarre patterns that come through. Like, look at this. This is like, they make images, and they show up all over my apartment all the time. These ghostly images. There's a guy with glasses on it, a mouth and 2 eyes. And I see these in all metallic and reflective surfaces. There's a litany of images that they use over and over again, some of which are images from my personal life, like long time ago, figures from old papers that I wrote, or things that I did in my apartment that should be well out of view, and I can only imagine that they have people looking through every little crack from the rooftop or something. It's mind blowing, but it definitely points to spying on my personal space, and which is already illegal, I believe, and they're doing it to such an extent that I can only imagine that they're making films of me. They've been doing it for a year and a half, and now they are harming me with an electromagnetic ray or field. This is not comfortable. This is causing my heart to palpitate and to not beat. It is incredibly uncomfortable. And I hope that they can see me filming this now, because this has to stop. And I'm actually going to prosecute this no matter what at this point. Because, it's one thing to do a spider bite on the ankle. No, I'm not even going to make excuses for them. They're going for death here. The word jump appeared on my refrigerator earlier tonight. I've seen images of clocks ticking down to 0. Those are, I saw an image of a handgun pointing at me. And I was contacted directly by one of them at 6 a.m. this morning in the bakery. I pretended to not know who she was, and there were 4 police officers who, it's possible that some of Vancouver's police are paid off or in on this, so I have to be very careful how I expose this. But they went too far. I gave them, even after a year and a half of harassment, I still gave them a final chance to stop. And I wanted them to apologize, but I just said, just stop. And the only interactions I've done with them are either for a period I was interested and I made some overtures to contact them, and then there were 3 periods in which I had enough and I asked them to stop. That is the only interactions I've done. Well, I actually asked an SUV in the alley to stop, and 2 people who I recognized from a photo of a picnic on their ceiling. I was agitated. I did not threaten them. I said, in an agitated way, I said, explain what's going on. I need to know what's going on, and you need to stop. I want you to stop. I do have a very powerful voice, but I was not yelling at them, and they sped off. They have not contacted the police after that, and they have not contacted me after that. So I took their contact of me this morning as a threat. It was not coming up in an appeasing manner. She did not come up. By the way, that person lives in the Kettle building, and I know which apartment. Where at least she showed up in the Kettle. I saw her in the Kettle, in the window. She was waving at me in her costume the other night, and these will all be explained in my notes. But her interaction with me this morning was not appeasing, and it was not any kind of a friendly gesture at all. It was menacing and like one-upsmanship, like somehow she had more power. I think what she was expecting was for me to be sobbing and saying, okay, I'm ready for you to stop now. That's the impression I got, and I handled it appropriately. I just said, do I know you? Because actually, outside of her costume, I can only be partly sure that it was her who did contact me. But she said, I think you know me. And I said, the way I handled it was I said, do you know me? And she kind of said, I think so. And gave me a look of like, yeah, you know. And I just said, no, I don't know you. And I just walked away. And there were 4 police officers in the donut shop at that time. They can at least verify that I did not become aggressive. It was very odd that 4 police officers showed up moments before that. There was one guy sleeping in the corner who needed to be woken up and told to leave. I didn't see him when I came in. He might have come in after I came in, and that might have been a ruse to get the police to come in, and the police were hovering around. And what it really felt like to me, because they think I'm completely crazy and they're trying to drive me crazy, clearly, it felt like they were trying to get me to become extremely agitated so that I could be taken down by the police, and then it would all be over. But I'm not going to do that. I am, however, standing up for myself, and I have a right to do that. The MO of these harassing attacks is all to hide in plain sight and to use high technology and subterfuge to a level which is very sinister. If anyone levels a complaint against them, they will be considered crazy, and it's hard to gather evidence. This they did not count on. I have never drawn that pattern, and I showed you there are multiple traces of patterns like that. There's another one right there. It is the same pattern that it's a similar pattern to this subliminal whirling pattern that I see sometimes that can induce vertigo, and I will explain that in my notes. but they're basically preying on people that are downtrodden or the fringes of society who who don't have money and power to back their story up. So that's why That's why I haven't gone to the authorities yet, because I need to have some backing, or I'm going to be considered crazy. Now, when this stuff all comes to the light of day, I want the people who are listening to this to consider how menacing and harmful that is, that kind of an attack. And this has been going on for a year and a half at least. I've been living here for 2 years, and within a day or two of moving in, I saw shapes moving around on the roof. Approximately a year ago, I discovered that those were people in ghillie suits, sniper camouflage. This looks like the trace of an active denial system. This is heavy stuff here. This is not lightweight stuff.